Today on the Clean Power Hour, 200 gigafactories all over the world. Canary Media launches. There's a press release out of RMI. This is big news, I think. Paying coal plants to close? Probably. Solar powered helicopter on the ground in Mars, and it's charging with solar power. We're going to talk about that. And will Tesla deliver 1 million cars in 2021? I say yes. Welcome to the Clean Power Hour. I'm Tim Montague, your co-host. Welcome to the show, my co-host and the commercial solar guy, John Weaver.
Timothy, it's crystal blue skies out. Good solar day. Just letting you know.
Spring has totally sprung here in Central Illinois. We broke 75 over the weekend and yesterday, and today we're going to hit 80 degrees maybe. So really nice weather. And the grass is growing. Get your mower ready. But yes, good solar weather.
Yep.
Nice to be putting winter behind us, even though it really wasn't a bad winter as far as winters go. But that's because we don't live in Texas. It was a horrible winter for Texas.
Jeez, Tim. Jeez. Harsh.
Yeah. I'm all about calling a spade, but so let's get into the news, John. We are going to talk about gigafactories and solar powered aircraft on Mars. But so why don't we go to the Gigafactory story first? I will put this on screen. And I mean, everybody has heard of, oh, that's not the Gigafactory story. This is the
Boom.
11. Well,
I mean, you could see, maybe we're starting with this. Look at this. Chunks of metal falling, dude.
Yeah, this was the most spectacular of the SN launches, I have to say. SpaceX is busy launching rockets, and we're happy for that. I heard a prediction by a YouTuber who follows Elon Musk very closely. Now I can't seemingly get out of that, but that basically there is a pool of people who think that Elon will probably retire from Tesla sometime in the next 5 years because it's just such a machine.
Yeah.
And he will dedicate the rest of his time to SpaceX because that's the harder problem to solve. As we've seen with the SN now, this was 11, right? That
Yep.
Blew up at some altitude, and so the the debris was flying far and wide.
Yep.
And
I think that's an interesting hypothesis that he'll retire. I mean, his purpose of Tesla at this point is to make money to fund other things, to drive machines. He's shifted to that over the years. He's done the job he had a goal to do, which was to get batteries and energy storage, transportation, that stuff cleaning, because that's what he said his goal was there. Of course, it's to be successful, build something, be cool. But once he's got the capital, sell it to somebody like Tim Cook at Apple. Somebody who's got a literal $1 trillion in a bank account almost, and say, listen, Tim, scale it, make it cleaner, faster, whatever. I'm done. Got the brand name, it's out there. In 5 years, electric cars won't be the hot thing anymore. They're going to be the normal thing. With VW and everybody scaling, he should retire from that company at some point. Just stay on as like an emotional leader, and and that'd be cool. I wouldn't care. He got his purpose out of it. Good work. It'd be sweet if he, who the heck knows what he's going to work on next, though. I think, there'll be more. SpaceX, there'll be more after SpaceX. I mean, literally, he might start building low Earth orbit type structures. I know he wants to skip the moon and go straight to Mars, but I wonder if he's going to look to create business in near Earth regions, asteroid mining or a space station. I mean, he's already creating some business with with our satellite internet coming. What's the company name? That's doing the internet. Starlink. There we go. So maybe there'll be more. Maybe Starlink will be it. Maybe he'll just go straight to his Mars hobby. I don't know, but
Yeah, of course, Elon can make money so many different ways. Making money isn't his challenge, really. I mean, it is a challenge if you want to go to Mars. So he's smart to prop up things like Starlink to fund that, because obviously making really big rockets that go really far is not easy. And there's a lot of experimentation to be done, hence the SN11. Um, 10, 9, 8, etc. Right now, they're going to skip to the 15 because it's supposedly some kind of a quantum leap where they're integrating many modifications.
Oh.
And then pretty soon, right, they're going to be building that booster, which is just many times bigger. Right. That big booster is just really big. And that once the booster and the rocket are together, then it's the biggest ever rocket to launch from Earth, right?
I didn't.
Which is
I mean, that makes
pretty,
sense. I didn't know that, but yeah, interesting.
yeah. Yeah, I mean the Saturn V is still one of the I think Saturn V holds the record still. Um and which is fascinating that we've been sitting on this technology for uh all of my life for 50 some years, and really haven't made any quantum leaps. So there's lots of R&D to do, and I just assume Elon focus on that. The EV revolution is very important. We need to electrify transportation. So kudos to Musk for putting America on that map. Um, the news just keeps coming out, John, that the Chinese are eating our lunch in the EV revolution. They are going harder, faster after manufacturing of not only cars, but trains and trucks and buses. And the Europeans are adopting the technology faster than we are. Now, at least the Biden administration is saying, hey, we need to get serious about this and install 500,000 chargers. And that's a worthy goal. And that'll make a difference and make it easier for consumers, because as we've talked about, you need fast charging if you want to be able to get around long distance. For commuting, it's done. That problem is solved, right? 50 amp charger in your garage and you're good to go. um, no big deal.
I'm
so
there.
so let's talk about gigafactories. I mean, Musk really put Tesla on the map with this concept. And I'm sure that there were other, I mean, as we've talked about and on Twitter and LinkedIn, just in the solar industry, the fact that these solar manufacturers are propping up 10 gigawatt plants now in 10 gigawatt chunks, like that's just crazy, crazy big factories. But you found a story about batteries and of course China. um,
So this group, Benchmark Mineral Intelligence, you might want to follow them. Super smart group. The gentleman who runs them, at least that I see via Twitter, his name is Simon, and he's presented to U.S. Congress. And I don't know anybody who knows more about battery supply chain or gigafactories, et cetera, in the general public. And so just, putting that out there. Good, real good guy to pay attention to. But he very much so speaks about the various markets. And if you go down to about the fifth or sixth paragraph, it starts off in 2021. If this references exactly what you just said, 148 of these 200 factories, China, 21 in Europe, 11 in the US. He looks at it and speaks to state actors, because I've seen some people say that the battery cell is the new oil, and that's an interesting statement to me. Um, Energy weapons. I know this sounds, this is slightly outside of our lane, but we literally, like the Chinese have backpack laser guns that they've been developing, where you have a soldier with a backpack, giant battery, and they literally shoot a laser. We have lasers on airplanes and ships now. You know, the amounts of energy that we use broadly and how we're going to use it and package it and deliver it, it's going to go beyond just what you and I do as a career, Tim. You and I are power grid people in general. I mean, we're enthusiasts for everything because we love the tech, we love the species advancing, but batteries are going to, I think, be a much broader effect in many other places. And I can't even conceive of some of them. You know, backpack laser guns, that's an easy one for movies. But there's going to be, I think, a massive use in so many different ways. And I wish I was smart enough to know so I could invest in them and start the companies today. I'd hire you and we could have some fun, Tim. But you know, it's coming, and many people see it, and many people see that there are many unknown unknowns. And if you're not in the field, if you're not manufacturing it, if you're not messing up in the factory, you're not going to learn the depths and the nuances. You're not going to be able to innovate in dynamic ways. And yes, you can always stand on the shoulders of others and innovate further. And so maybe that's the way to be. But I like the way different nation states around the world are fighting a little bit to own some of these manufacturing and supply lines for solar panels, for batteries. You know, one of my favorite manufacturers of machines is Meyer Burger, who we will have on the show in very
Next
soon.
week.
Awesome, totally psyched. And they're part of a hard European push to get 20 to 30 gigawatts per year of manufacturing capacity for heterojunction panels on the continent. Love it. Big fan of it. You know, 30, 40 gigs isn't huge, but it covers half of the residential market for Europe. And that's what their goal is for now, is to aim for the premium residential market. So this nation state shuffle with batteries, solar, I think it'll be good for us. And that's why I really like Simon and reading his stuff and seeing this data. Because, you know, 200 gigafactories. I once read that Elon said if we had 100 gigafactories, that would be the number. You know, 200 means we're going beyond it. You know, the economics have changed. The prices have come down further. We're probably going to go a lot further than many of us think. And so I just, you know, pay attention to these gigafactories because I think they're bigger than just factories making battery cells. I think they are part of the formation of power structures on a geopolitical global level. And it's not trivial in any way. So
Yeah, I agree with you that batteries are in many ways the new oil. And, you know, when you juxtapose that statistic that we get 10,000 times more energy from the sun than we can use on an annual basis, you quickly realize, oh, we only need to capture a small percentage of that in order to entirely power society with the batteries. You got to keep the solar running, but you only need a few percent of the landscape in solar. We already have 6% in buildings and roads. So even if you just took a percent of that, but let's include ground mount, okay, and some green fields because it's going to be more cost effective. 2% of the landscape. And then we've got plenty of farmland, plenty of land for all the other uses we need. Anyway, batteries storing energy, super, super important. And it is a national security thing now that there are these next gen weapons. And so, amen. We need to step on the gas with ARPA-E. We need ARPA-C, which is a priority also of Biden's new infrastructure plans. And ARPA-C will focus on climate change. How do we get ourselves out of the doo-doo that we're clearly in? You know, the question stands, can we get out of the doo-doo? Right. The doo-doo is where we are. And, and so we have to backtrack. But it concerns me that China is, you know, has such a death grip on rare earth elements and battery manufacturing, and kudos to them for having the vision, for going after it. Now it's can we be competitive? That's the question.
The It's their model right now, this manufacturing thing, and it's something they're thinking about more than just batteries, though. They're thinking geopolitics, global geopolitics, and leveraging their massive workforce and doing it before it's too late. Because if the Indians catch up with the Chinese, their regional control has a major power to contend with. And there's only a small window where China will be the most powerful. And I love the fact that they're doing storage, solar, hydrogen now. I don't know if you saw the news, but LONGi, who is the second largest solar panel manufacturer behind Jinko, I think they're second largest. They're top three.
LONGi is largest.
They're largest. Okay, yeah. They're going into hydrogen now. China's been talking hydrogen in the back doors for about a year and a half. This is bigger. Where this is bigger than you and I as solar sales guys, Tim. This is control of the planet from some people's perspective. This is control of their population, control of their borders, and it's my favorite phrase. It's not trivial. This is not a trivial thing, and
Yeah.
keep watching it, man, because they're going to fight tooth and nail for it. And we're going to have some battery factories in the U.S. more because there will be American business fight tooth and nail. But I'll tell you, we saw the news a couple weeks ago. SK, the battery manufacturer from South Korea, got an injunction by LG Chem, I believe, saying you're using our technology. Get your factory out of the United States. They were about to build a factory for Ford. So we're going to have Biden and the administration, they're going to make some judgment calls, and something's going to break, and we're going to see doubling of our factory numbers because of the strategic importance, I think. And maybe it's going to be a link between the United States and Europe because we still consider them our key partners. Maybe United States, Europe, and Australia. Maybe we'll even bind with India as they're trying to scale and because again, this is geopolitical. This is not just us solar sales guys being CO2 greenhouse people. This is controlling the oceans, controlling the weapons, and this is part of that.
The only reason I can say that LONGi is the largest solar manufacturer is because Andy Klump came on my show, the Solar Podcast. Check it out at cesnrg.com/podcast. And he's doing factory inspections in 55 countries. So he knows this industry inside and out. He's a 20-year industry veteran, and it's his job to know who is who in the manufacturing space.
Nice.
But and they're producing 45 gigawatts per year on their own. You know, I thought a 5 gigawatt plant was big, but no. No. 10 gigawatt plants. So let's move on. We've got a lot of good stories we got to cover here.
Yes.
So we better talk about Rocky Mountain Institute, and I'm going to put the press release on screen that came out today.
Yep.
You know, Amory Lovins and his wife Hunter Lovins created RMI in 1982 when I was getting ready to go to college. I went to college in 1983. And so he's been at this for a while. They rebranded now just as RMI, which I think is smart because nobody can remember what RMI stands for unless you're from the Southwest where I am from, but and you love the Rocky Mountains. But they threw a Hail Mary here, which is wonderful because GTM, as most of our listeners know, is now shutting its doors, and RMI has launched Canary Media, and they have hired several of the key people, including Eric Wessoff, Jeff St. John, and David Roberts, and some other journalists we're going to mention here, who we have grown to love.
Love.
Yes, definitely. We're talking about Julian Spector and who else?
Emma's awesome. I love Emma. Jeff is great. All three of them. It's Jeff, Emma, and Julian. Jeff, Emma, and Julian. Those three people I've been reading for years, and I remember multiple stories that Emma's broken, multiple stories that Julian is broken. I've worked for Eric Westhoff. He's mean but awesome. He beat up my writing, said it was terrible, but then he taught me how to make it better. And with my personal website, I've taken his feedback and I've actually hired an editor. And so all my work has to get written much better. And I came to see it clearly with him. And, he did a great job with at least getting GTM to grow. He worked a little bit for PV Magazine, but I'll tell you, the most important thing I think that that Eric was able to do was to convince people that he could first run a team, and then, and here's the key thing, he kept these three people in the industry. That's it, because those three people, in my opinion, they're awesome, and we don't want to lose these people that have this talent, this knowledge, this history. So good job, Mr. Westhoff. Thank you. I look forward to arguing with you and telling you that you're wrong. But I'm the happiest guy to have a chance to argue with you, because you're going to run a good team. So thank you, Eric, for putting that down, and thank you, RMI, for taking a chance on this. You guys did good there.
Yeah, check them out, canarymedia.com. And the person who I've recently gotten very interested in is David Roberts. He's one of the journalists there at Canary Media. He's written for Vox and Grist. He also has launched a podcast, John, called Volts. So no matter what your podcast platform is, you can check out Volts with David Roberts. And his most recent episode covers the infrastructure plan. I call it the Green New Deal, even though that's not how it's branded, just because I can't remember exactly what it is branded, but he goes into it in depth. So if you want to learn about the Green New Deal, that is now going to be working its way through Congress for the next, hopefully few months, hopefully not many months, but hopefully a few months. But he touches on this fact that we need to modify how Congress works, because we're at a tipping point where it could go either way. And yeah, we can get stuff done in Washington right now, but if the 2022 election goes south, we're looking at a potential ice age for the political scene, and that doesn't bode well for stepping back from the brink of climate chaos. So check out Dave Roberts' podcast. And we've had Julian Spector on the show here at the Clean Power Hour, and look forward to having him back. And I've been following Emma Foeringer.
I don't know. That's why I just said her first name, because I can never pronounce her last name.
Yeah, Emma Foeringer, merchant. And I've been following her for years as well, and have reached out to her. I have not succeeded in getting her onto the Solar Podcast or the Clean Power Hour. So Emma, if you're listening, please reach out to us. We want your perspectives on the energy transition. But I love it that, they've called it Canary Media, AKA Canary in the Coal Mine, right? And because this truly is an emergency, we just don't see it on a daily basis, right? It's a slightly invisible emergency that we're in the midst of. And it's hard, I think, for ordinary Americans to really get up in arms about the climate crisis. Of course, those of us who are on the more educated spectrum and are curious about what's going on with climate chaos, we see it, right? We've seen it coming for 30 years, if we've been alive that long.
Yeah.
Or like my children, they've just inherited it and they're going, WTF, people, like, thanks a lot. You knew for all this time that you had to stop burning so much fossil fuels, and you didn't do it. So here we are.
We've known since the 1890s. We did the equations then.
It's true. Good point. Love it. Well, hey, we are going to bring you a official new segment of the Clean Power Hour. And that segment is Solar Project of the Week. John and I have periodically brought you projects that he and I are developing in our backyards, and we're going to start doing that on a more regular basis, hopefully, and other projects. It doesn't have to be a John Weaver or a Tim Montague project, any good solar project. So if you are developing, building CNI, community solar, utility scale solar projects, solar plus storage, doing something innovative in the clean energy space, please send us your project details and photographs, and we will bring it to the Clean Power Hour gladly. Now I just need to figure out how to drive Zoom.
I love that. I love that you just launched it. Launched it to my knowledge as well.
Yeah, I'm not very good sometimes at formalizing these things, but
Hey, you get it done. You get it
but-
done, Tim. That's what matters. You get it done.
Thank you. Thank you. So this is a community solar project. It's a 2.5 megawatt DC, 2 megawatt AC in just outside of Joliet, Illinois, which is a large industrial city in the Chicago suburbs. And you're looking at solar flex rack, single axis tracker. There's the Speedway in the background. This is
Nice.
a racetrack, hence the name Speedway. This is Speedway Solar, developed by Summit Ridge Energy. We love working with Summit Ridge. We are the EPC here at Continental Energy Solutions. If you're looking for an EPC, please note, we are well known in Illinois, but we are growing nationally. We will go anywhere a credible developer takes us. And we are building a business model to develop projects or do EPC work, construction work in far-flung places. So please reach out to me, TG Montague on Twitter or tmontague at csenergy.com. Nice view of the Speedway in the background. Obviously, we're here at noon hour when the panels are pointing straight up, although this was in the winter. And you see the erosion control matting down there on the ground, right? We don't want the soil to erode before the vegetation starts growing. Another view down the row. I love these down the row views, just so crisp. And
Those half-cut solar cells.
yeah, and I couldn't find out what panel this was in time for today's show. I've been putting this off, so I just had to roll it out. We're going to close with a couple nice aerial.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Nice.
So there's a nice aerial view of the whole array and the Speedway in the background there. So if you're ever going to the racetrack in Joliet, check out Speedway Solar in the background because you'll be able to see it from the stands. Then there's one or two other photos. I thought I had a photo of this. Oh, there in the winter. I love this snow photo. So Speedway Solar. What is next on our agenda?
So first, I want to say Low Tech Magazine. They're kind of neat. And maybe in the next week or two, I'm going to post an article about their server. Their server is 100% solar powered. It's got small lead acid batteries. And just a little quick note, and then we're going to go to the actual article here. A recent upgrade to Linux, which is the back end that runs their server, increased the kWh usage to the point where now, by design, Low Tech's server will shut down at certain hours of the night because they want to remind you, the sun goes down, bro. Batteries are expensive. If you want to live a tight, clean, efficient life, you got to recognize it. And so I just like the philosophy of it. It brings it hardcore to the center and said, hey, here's reality.
Yeah.
And so I
clicked on their solar powered website link, but it took me to some other story. Or maybe that was just their main landing page. So is this analogous to a Wikipedia type of a site, or what's their dealio?
he's just a low tech magazine. His whole philosophy is that, listen, humanity is going to kill ourselves if we don't tighten stuff. And we need to get used to living a simpler life because we're a bunch of morons and we're going to mess up and we're going to be cave people again.
Yeah.
And let's start paying attention. And he just writes stuff, and he's been around for years, many, many years. And, you know,
Well, I
he's
don't
just,
consider electric vehicles low tech, but I'm glad that he's, collecting information about them. So you
Yeah.
found a story about electric vehicles, early electric vehicles, 1895 to 1925. And many of
Yeah.
them, it says, had a range comparable to that of EVs today.
Now the
So,
article, well, I mean, the article that you're going to click on, if you look at the link, it's from 2010. So
mhm,
uh let's don't worry about that. But the
yeah,
status quo article, the one that we're looking at is the one that matters because we're talking 2010 Nissan Leaf. And the article that we're looking at here with this old list, it could be a super old article. I didn't even look at that. I didn't care about the age of the article. What I cared about is that he had a list of like 20 or 30 electric cars from the late 1800s, early 1900s. I had no idea there were that many options. I mean, I know I like to occasionally share these cool images, but I think all these images that I've been finding of neat old EVs, I bet you they're coming from various people reading his stuff and putting it out there. And so I just think it's cool. And so this specific article we were looking at, it has a list of like 20 cars. It has their specs, their speeds, their charge times, everything from 1907. So if you wanted to buy an EV in 1907, you had 30 of them. You had more cars then than you can choose today for electric vehicles. Think about that. And it's just neat. That's just cool. And so, I don't know. First off, I like the website, but I just love the concept that we had that many EVs way back in the day.
yeah, I'm with you. And it's, I guess I'm curious to know what was the cost of ownership that led to the demise of the EV versus the ICE engine vehicle. How big a delta was it for all these years? Because it must have been pretty extreme, um,
It
for
was.
because the EV did totally disappear basically,
Well,
for all intents and purposes.
there were two things that I was taught. One is that KWH equivalent of like $1 per hour back in the day. I mean, electricity was super expensive in the early times. And two, the range of the EV didn't compare to the gas engines that were being developed. And so it's just the acceleration of gas engines destroyed, the technological acceleration of gas engines destroyed the technology of EVs. And then the performance, like we were making gas engines go 40, 50, 60 miles per hour. EVs were topping out at 25, 30, because if you went faster than that, the draw on the batteries was too fast and we were catching batteries on fire. So I think it had to be cost. I think it was cost of electricity, range, and simple acceleration of technology. Gas engines were easier, cheaper, simpler, something. Maybe I'll keep reading so I have a proper answer for you and our listeners. And I love it. We're going to go from a low tech magazine to the exact opposite in our next little conversation.
Yeah, the Mars helicopter is officially on Mars, no longer huddled under the belly of the rover called Perseverance.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It's not flight yet. The first flight is the earliest, what they said, of April 11th, and sometime thereafter. And I think they suggested that they would be giving us news on April 12th because it takes a little bit of time for the data to be processed and sent back to the US or to the Earth. But by this time next week, maybe we'll have some flight data.
I love how simple the helicopter looks, and in this view, you can clearly see it has dual blades. We've talked about this periodically, but it's about 3 or 4 pounds, and it'll have a flight time of about 90 seconds. Um, and so it'll be short hops and then back to sitting and charging,
Mhm.
and hopefully not getting blown away by a dust devil, which they've also documented now on Mars. But
Mhm.
it's good. It'll be the first I'm not sure what the expression is, because apparently the Russians launched a balloon on a moon of Saturn, something like this. So it's not the first flight on a foreign body, but it's the first battery powered flight, or so good story. Looking forward to that. So hopefully by next week, when we do the Clean Power Hour, we'll have some actual helicopter footage of Mars.
Now, there were two balloons that the Russians dropped on Venus, Vega 1 and Vega 2, and they
Must be
fell onto
that.
the surface.
Yeah, it must be that.
That's pretty
But
cool.
when you say balloons that landed, but there was like a landing and then a takeoff, right? They did some kind
No,
of a takeoff.
I'll learn as we talk about the next one, but the ones
Yeah.
that I know of on Vega that landed, they just slowly fell into the atmosphere because it's a super thick atmosphere, and then they were crushed before they got to the ground, to the best of my knowledge. But
Yeah.
I got a picture of it right here. Vega balloon, the Haley mission, March, returned images. Dun, 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 dun. We'll figure out. We'll chat about it.
Yeah. So I got uh momentarily interested in electric heavy equipment. We've reported on this story before, the growth of pure electric heavy equipment. And what I didn't realize, though, is that some countries like Norway are really going after this space. The photo here is a Caterpillar excavator. It's a 26-ton excavator with a 300 kilowatt hour battery pack. It's a photo from Norway, though. It says "Jeg er elektrisk." That means I am electric in Norwegian. And but there's several manufacturers that are going after this. In Norway, though, what they've done is they've outlawed ICE engine heavy equipment for government projects in Oslo. I don't know if this applies to other municipalities yet, but so that's how, municipalities and states can really drive the adoption of electrification by saying, okay, by 2030, we're no longer going to sell ICE engines, which is, I think, the goal in Norway also, period, in the country. I don't know what the Biden administration, New Jersey has a rule now on this, right, with electrification, I think 2035. There's a handful of states. Isn't Massachusetts in the mix there?
Yeah, I think so. I was thinking about it as you were saying it, but I'm pretty certain they are.
Yeah. And, obviously you have to have a way to charge these vehicles on site. So you're going to have access to grid power to charge the batteries. But I was surprised in the little research I did that some of these, the charging time is just a couple hours, and then you're back to work. You can get 8 hours of runtime on a charge, and so it's now becoming practical
Did
to
you
not use ICE engines.
did you look at the pictures? The one thing I really wanted to share about this is that they had a few nice pictures, and this reminded me of the piece of hardware you found, I think, last time, or maybe I did, but it had the excavator. It has the batteries as a big counterweight on the backside of the big arm, and this is another one where they did that. And
Yeah.
if you scroll down the article a tiny bit, there's just a couple of cool pictures yeah, those right there. And it's just, I just think it's neat seeing how it's constructed, the actual work. It's just cool looking, watching these form factors. I love the form factor expansion, because every time you have a group who's doing something different, we're going to learn from it broadly. And yet another vertical that's going to have this technology, yet another set of researchers, engineers, scientists who are adding to our learning curves. And and you know what? I also want to be able to, whenever some climate denier moron says to me, "Yeah, but what about the mining?" I just want to be able to tell them to shut up. Yeah. Here's a go call Caterpillar and quit whining. So it's cool to watch.
Yeah. So, the math is done. Electrification of transportation is a way to grossly reduce our carbon footprint with transportation. There's no argument about that now, right? That debate is over and done. So we do want to have fossil fuels there as a backup, but let's sip, not guzzle on the fossils, because if we guzzle, we create the doo doo that we're in, and that's no good for my children and my children's children and all of the other future generations in the world. So let's close with this story about a test vehicle in Germany. I love the vertical solar panels on this truck. Unfortunately, it won't let me zoom in on that
Yeah, it's not the
photograph.
best image. If you right click and open it, you'll get a little bit better of an image. Oh, open an image, a new tab. It'll give you a slightly bit bigger. You got a new tab up there. Now you got to go click on that tab up at the top. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, crap image, but whatever.
Yeah.
What's neat is that the CEO of Meyer Burger, who's Gunther, he's the one that shared it. So that's how I found this. It's because it's their solar panels on that unit.
Okay.
And so I just thought it was cool. It's just a pickup with solar panels. This is like one of those food trucks where you get the most terrible food ever. But it's wonderful because you're on a construction site and you will eat anything to live. That's what that vehicle reminds me of. So I just thought it was neat. 15, 20 miles a day of EV charging, that helps. It helps. Every little bit helps. Yeah, you're not going to hang up on us already, Tim. Do you have a meeting starting soon? I can give 15 more minutes.
Oh, if you can keep going, I can keep going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's go to 115. Everybody deserves that.
So we're talking about a moron. What's happening at night?
Oh. Tim, am I allowed to rant for just 30 seconds?
Go for it, John.
What the hell, dude? Senator Yaw? Really, dude? Come on. What happens at night? You know what? Thank you, Senator. You reminded us that the sun goes down. If it wasn't for you, I don't know if we would have ever been able to figure out that the sun goes down. And I'm so happy, Senator Yaw, that you are educating your constituents so well that you're even the chairman of the Environmental Resources Committee, and you're asking dumb questions about the sun going down. Really, really, Senator Yaw, what the heck are you doing? I don't get this statement, dude. I mean, it's
But so
2021.
give our listeners some context, because last week we reported, right? We reported that Pennsylvania has an initiative to solar power their government facilities and also to up its RPS, right?
Yes.
The renewable portfolio standard, which is quite meager. I think they have a 10% RPS.
8. They had 8. Now it's 15.
Okay.
Yeah. So they did two things. So PA did two things. The governor said they're going to power about 400 electricity bills for the state, which represents 50% of state electricity usage, not private. I mean, like government, state government, with about 191 megs of solar. And really, it's just offsetting electricity. That's really what it is, because there's no batteries involved. There's no overnight. It's just they're buying credits and they're pumping the electricity and offsetting some bills. And these moron politicians who just want to pander to low information voters, people who are scared. That's what this dude is. I'm not even going to say his name anymore because he doesn't deserve the name recognition. And it's just like, dude, you're from the 1900s. Go back there, stay there. Don't talk anymore. You're not much use to us. And just go away, because that was a dumb statement. And so sorry, Tim, I'm done.
But what he's ostensibly pointing to, John, I don't truly understand this, but he's just saying, look, you don't get solar at night. So what is the answer? The answer is, well, first of all, you design your solar array so that it produces 100% of your energy over the course of the year, where it's overproducing in the summer and then underproducing in the winter and at night, of course, right? And then you pair that I mean, in the greater scheme, right, you pair that with storage and then truly have 24/7 energy. But he's just kind of not aware that we have this thing called net metering, right? And um,
Eh, not Tim, you're being too nice. You might be right. I'm not gonna admit to that. I think he's just the general. We're gonna leave it alone. He's being a politician and he's dumb, and it's bad for his health. We should reach out to him and get him on the show and be like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? He needs an education from us, Timothy. And maybe he won't come on the show now if he listens to me talking. But I don't care. These politicians are a dime a dozen, and they're just archaic creatures, and they'll go away one day. He's not talking about batteries. He's like diversity of energy, all of the above. He's just trying to keep coal and fracking covered because that's what he thinks his voters want, or that's all that he's confident in educating his voters about. This is bad politics, and I'm going to yell about him. And if you want to be nice to him, you can, and I'll support you being nice to him. But I'm going to disagree with it because, just terrible.
well, moving on.
Yeah.
You're also a solar chef. You're not just the commercial solar guy, apparently.
I don't know about a solar chef because technically this is only electricity. I am signed up for community solar at home, but this little tweet is just about the fact that I bought an induction cooktop and I shut off my gas stove. And I ran the numbers because my induction cooktop lets me set my cooking at either a temperature or a wattage. And I didn't realize that when I first got it. I just turned it on and started cooking and I just adjusted up and down. Then my friend said, hey, you're cooking at 400 watts. And I was like, oh, sweet. And since I know how to do math and I do solar, I said, oh, if I do some math real quick, 400 watts at 20 minutes at around 20 cents per kilowatt hour means 2.67 cents of electricity per meal. And that's just neat to know. 2.3 cents a meal for electricity. That's cool. I just think it's cool. I can cook my food and I cook about 2 meals at home per day. So, if I get 2 meals per month, 60 per month, 3, we're talking 90 cents. We're talking $1 per month to cook my food. Awesome. That's it. That's all I wanted to show off. $1 a month. Oh, that makes me happy.
What's present for me about this is the fact that energy is cheap and health is expensive. We like to focus on energy when it comes to the built environment. There's this whole movement called high performance building or net zero construction to make it buildings super energy efficient, which is a good thing. I'm all for making buildings efficient, but we have to make them healthy also at the same time. And health is very expensive. It's by a factor of 10. So in this case, what you eat is expensive. How you make the food is cheap, whether you're using gas or electricity or a microwave or whatever, right? In the building trades, the other thing about buildings that irks me is that we don't pay attention to indoor air quality enough. Obviously, with COVID, that has come front and center. But again, energy is cheap. You can do ventilation, you can do energy recovery ventilation for pennies. And you should be doing this if you have a tight envelope. And we're so focused on energy. And like I said, I'm all for it, but we also have to think about the health impacts. So I'll get off my
and I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you super hard there. And that is specifically why I shut off the gas stove in my apartment. And you want to know who taught me about indoor air pollution? Dr. Volt, Dr. David, who's going to work for Canary. It's one of his articles that I read recently. And then another gentleman who works at RMI, who you should consider getting on the show one day because he just knows so much. His name is Christian Roseland. You know him quite well, sir.
We had Christian on the Solar Podcast. It's hard to get Christian. It's hard to get Christian to come on anything, period, because he's super busy at RMI. But absolutely,
he's the one that taught me about this specific induction cooktop. And so when he bought it, and it's from IKEA, it's $50. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, I didn't know that existed. He goes, well, this is why I'm sharing it on Twitter so that somebody sees it. And because of his tweet, I now have one. and it just makes me so happy to cook on it. So there you go, 3 cents a meal and no pollution inside my tiny little apartment. Makes me happy.
Yep. Yeah, I haven't upgraded to an induction cooktop in my house or my RV. I have a gas stove in my RV. I'd love to get an induction cooktop going. I just built a countertop that sits on top of the stove made out of bamboo. So looking
That's
forward
kind
to
of neat.
having an induction cooktop to put on there and try it out. I have 5 kilowatt hours of electric battery storage now in the RV. So
Five
I
kilowatt
think that'll be enough to get away with quite a bit of cooking. I guess you gave the KW, but how does that translate? Does that mean if you use the stove for an hour, you're using 400 kilowatt hours?
Yeah, so that's the equation. So your watts is your instantaneous demand, and then you multiply it by your time period to get your watt hours. And so in my case, it's 400 watts times 0.333 hours. And because it's about 20 minutes, so 1/3 of an hour. So that's how you get your calculation. It's 400 watts times X hours equals X
Yeah.
watt hours.
Yeah. So that would be a tenth of my battery storage. So that seems reasonable.
For an hour, because you're not going to cook for an hour, or
Right.
maybe you will.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
if I'm cooking rice or something, um, and but that seems, I mean, that is the thing that keeps RVers away from these induction cooktops is they do have quite a draw. You've got to have a sizable inverter, and so it's not for everyone, but check it out. So coal plants are closing en masse. If you want to get some good statistics on the numbers, check out Tony Seba's recent videos, SEBA, and he likes to just document how quickly coal plants are closing. And the thing that Tony points out is that the LCOE of fossil fuels has been underestimated. And so the levelized cost of energy for these facilities is actually higher than historical estimates, and that's driving partially the rapid closure of coal and gas facilities. And but what's the story here?
So the story here is that we're paying coal plants to close. In Germany, what they do, they offer a reverse auction of sorts, and what they say is, okay, we have available in this auction this much money for this much capacity, some little dynamic, and they say, if you would like to close your coal plant today, we will pay you. By 2027, and you can see it right there, a series of tenders between 2020 and 2027, you may not make money in the future if you don't close your plant, and you're just going to get closed because that's how the world is going. Yesterday, I saw a headline that the carbon tax reached 43 euros per ton. That's a record for them. That's having a significant effect on these coal folk. And we're paying coal people to close. On the one hand, it's like, so you're going to pay the people that are killing you? Yes. Why? So they stop killing you. That doesn't make sense. Yeah, it does. It's weird, but it makes sense because we are capitalists. We are economically minded, and we can't just steal money from people. We can if we really wanted to get into it, and maybe we should be if we were really super conscious about what's coming to us. But it's just interesting. We're paying coal plants, and now it's happening in Kansas too. So there's 2 articles there. There's one from Germany, and then there's one from Kansas who's doing their thing in a different way. And it's just interesting to watch these techniques and these tools and this financial innovation. I mean, it's financial innovation. And on some level, it's like, ugh, why would we pay a coal plant? Well, listen, we want to get it off, and we don't want to break any laws because we believe in freedom. We believe in business people being able to do to a degree what they want. So how do we fix this? How do we make it happen? Well, here's some money. Go away. I'm okay with that to some degree. Especially in the places where they don't care about environmentalism. Okay, we'll pay you off. Go away. It's just, there's enough money. Just do it. And to be honest, all these electric utilities are really finding that coal is too expensive to run these days. And so they should be economically moving toward this, but they're having to get kicked because there's just a lot of ideology, and that's bad. And so, it's this concept of paying coal plants to close really, really interests me. So
Yep. It's an intriguing idea. We have to acknowledge that coal pollution kills people directly and other living things, of course, and it causes runaway global warming. So we need all hands on deck. We need to innovate in so many ways, and this is just another way to innovate and speed the energy transition. So let's go to our final story, and that is Tesla Q1 2021 vehicle production and deliveries. And it has forced the EV community to ask the question, can Tesla get to 1 million vehicles in 2021, right, John?
So Tesla was actually asked, and I think it was on the Q4 2021 or 2020 earnings. So, back in January, February, they were asked by one of the analysts, do you think you're going to get to 1 million cars? And he did a little bit of math. And Elon's response was like, that sounds about right, because he's not allowed to say yes, because that's, he's got to be conscious about his official guidance. And he insinuated in that response that, yeah, we're going to pop 1 million. If we look at his numbers here, in the first quarter, they did 184. And I did some real super rough math. If we do compounding growth quarter over quarter of 20%, that gets into 993,000 cars delivered. Now, one might think, oh, where's he going to get 50% more cars? Well, Texas is opening. Germany is opening. China is scaling. Right there. Now,
Yep.
Do you by any chance know, Tim, because you're actually following it super close, do you know when we might see a Cybertruck roll off a line? Will we get volume from Texas this year?
I don't think the word volume is being used with Texas, but
Okay.
trucks will be rolling off of the line in Austin either in Q3 or Q4.
Okay. Okay.
So we're in Q2 now.
Mhm.
And when you look at the Gigafactory in Austin, it's coming together very fast. There's lots of news about how they're hiring now
Mhm.
at all levels for the Austin factory. And but of course, meanwhile, expanding, as you point out, expanding China, launching the German factory. And yes, Tesla's capacity is definitely going up as we speak. And so it's just a question of will they get there? You got to be a big boy automaker, you've got to be delivering millions of vehicles, right? And so most people look at the numbers historically and kind of scoff like, oh yeah, but you know, Toyota delivers what, almost 10 million vehicles, I think, a year, something like that. And so Tesla will get there either in 2021 or shortly thereafter, right? And then continue. There's news that uh, there may be a gigafactory coming to Great Britain.
Ooh.
They ranked very high in the original search, and then they chose Germany over England. But I see that there's a lot of, good reasons to consider England after looking at that story. And it's a port city. I can't remember the name of the town. It's outside of London, but so many big consumers of EVs right there. The UK being a hotspot, the Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, Finland, all those countries are going after, and then also India, right? There's lots of talk and rumors of India opening a gigafactory. Nothing is confirmed on that front, but Musk isn't stopping. There's gonna be this continued stepping on the gas and accelerating the expansion of Tesla, coming out with new, cheaper vehicles. I'm excited about the Rivian, though, John. The Rivian is going to roll off this summer too, here in Central Illinois, in Bloomington Normal. It's a little more expensive than the Cybertruck. The starting point for the Rivian is $70,000. You can get a Cybertruck, I think, for 50, and
Not this summer.
but not this summer. So the Rivian the Rivian is going to beat the Cybertruck to market unless there's some breakdown. And
That's cool.
they're tooting their horn about building a charger network and a service network. They had a story out about doing a similar service network to what Tesla does with mobile service. I think going direct to consumer is a good, as I tweeted this morning, an important but tough nut to crack. And I don't doubt that it's hard to be consistently good, and Tesla gets dinged for this. Sometimes the service is good. Apparently, I've never used my Tesla service yet, so I don't know.
Neither have I.
But there are plenty of YouTubers and podcasters out there who are quite critical of Tesla's service. It's hit and miss. So Elon's just trying to be less wrong. I appreciate that about him. He's building the airplane while flying it. It's bold and brash, and things will break. More importantly, how can our listeners find you, John?
Well, I mean, if they wanted to, they could drive up to New Bedford, Massachusetts, and there's a decent chance you find me working at Groundworks. You might find me outside, or if you're smarter and logical, you can go to google.com and type in commercial solar guy. We got our website, Twitter, LinkedIn, all over different places. And we're a general contractor in the Northeast. We're a solar developer in the Northeast as well. We do general solar finance and consulting on a nationwide basis.
Very good. We have your blog on screen at commercialsolarguy.com/news. And you're also doing a weekly blog about the podcast, about the Clean Power Hour. So if you ever want to see that in written form, just check out John's blog. And then, of course, there is how to reach me, Tim Montague. And that also is pretty easy. I have my doppelgangers out there, so you might get lucky if you just Google me, but go to cesnrg.com/podcast. You'll find all of our content here. Please subscribe to the show, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and send us your ideas for topics and speakers. We're always looking for the best in clean energy news here on the Clean Power Hour, which if I just scroll down, then you can see all of those episodes. Today is episode 39, but there's 38, 37, all the way down. And so check us out at cesnrg.com. You can also find me on Twitter at TG Montague. That's it, John. Have a great day, man.
I will. You as well, Timothy.
Let's grow solar and storage. Take care, everybody.